Okay, guys, here's what I'm trying to do. Chapter 2 is about Excel and just how to do copy, paste, and a few other things on Excel. And maybe we'll do Excel if we have time. Most likely, you will do Excel on your own. You should know Excel, you should have learned already. You can easily read, or you can get the PowerPoint. You'll try to learn it. You can also use help. Maybe we'll do Excel for 20 minutes in the lab, okay? Right now, more important is to focus on visualizing and exploring data. That's what we're going to do for the next 1 or 2 weeks, and this is what we're going to do in the lab, okay? So, what is visualizing data? Well, basically, it's look at pictures, look at graphs. Let's see. Visualizing data is the process of displaying data, usually large quantities of data, sometimes thousands, sometimes millions of observations, okay, in a meaningful fashion. In other words, you should be able to derive meaning. What we'll do, for example, in the lab next time, we got a large data set with sales transactions. We tried just to import it last time, and it tells you for every transaction what time it happened. So, example of visualizing will be, well, what time of the day we got most customers? Do they come at 9 o'clock in the morning, or 5 in the afternoon, or maybe 7 o'clock, okay? So we want to find out when we get most customers. That's about meaning, so that it can provide insight how to run your business. If it's in the store, you're going to have more cashiers. All right, so you may have data in a table form, or you may have it in some sort of a graphical form. This is all, again, common business sense. You can use tabular. Tabular means of table, presented in a table. And you can see here, well, these are the months, and these are the different products. Let's say product A, and product B, product C, product D, product E. So it's just a simple table for what you did in each month. Maybe you can draw a chart to see, are sales increasing, are sales decreasing, are sales remaining stable, okay? For example, we see the sales of product A dropped in February. So this is product A, this is February, from about 7,800 to about 7,002. Now, for you can try a little bit to zoom in, right? It's easier than operating a phone, so that we can see this little section over here. And then you see that in March, dropped further than in February, from 7,200 to 7,050, right? And now you gotta zoom out. Let me just give it 10, 20 seconds, and then zoom out. So, beyond that, whatever, it's difficult to draw big picture conclusions. In other words, you look at the data, you see, well, it dropped here, but you can't see a lot more than that. Sometimes it's difficult. And the more data you have, more difficult it is to see the detail or the meaning. Somehow, if you have a lot of data, you need to summarize it. You need to summarize it in a, and here's the key word, meaningful way. Somehow you can draw meaning, somehow you can draw conclusions. Let's see what we have. Well, the alternative to tabular form is visual form. And visual form usually comes into a chart. The chart could be a bar, it could be a plot. It could be anything that shows a picture. This is where in English we say that a picture is worth 1,000 words. Okay? It tells you a nice, good picture. First, I'm just picking. You see this blue one. High, low, and then stays somewhat stable, and then falls again. Well, what is the blue one? Well, you're looking at the blue one will be, I would guess, product A. Okay, product A. Well, might not be blue one, product E. Okay, let's see what's product A here. I'm trying to read the picture. Maybe product A is that one here, okay? So you get to see it's easier to read. So here's now a difficulty. You see, this color is almost the same as this color and difficult to read. So one important characteristic about knowing charts is to make it user-friendly. Now, I don't know about you guys, read easily the red one. Red is easy to read. I can see the red very clearly, okay? It's easier to read the light blue, but some of the others are not. These two are easy to confuse. Maybe one can use yellow or some other color. So here's a simple example of how this color and this color are so close to each other that they are actually difficult to read and differentiate. Of course, you can go back to the data and look, is it this or is it this? Okay, so what do we have? You easily compare overall sales of different products. Well, you see, here they tell you product C, which is this low line, sells the least. For some reason, it is not popular. This particular product starts high and it's going down, okay? Let's see what else we have. You may be able to identify trends, especially in a longer chart. Trend is usually either pointing up, meaning growing, or pointing down, okay? Things are going bad. It's not selling as good. Well, trend could be going down for costs, and this is a good thing, okay? The goal of the business is profit. So one of our business goals will be lowering costs over time. So let's see. Identify trends. Product D, sales of D are increasing. So you're looking at product D. This will be, looks like the trend is steadily increasing, okay? So you can see some increasing trends, you can see what's low, you can see what's high, you can see which one is like product E, maybe falling, okay? So it just tells you the picture. Let's see what else we have. You can have a dashboard. Dashboard will basically give you a number of different charts, and these charts will be updated. I like to use a dashboard for the stock markets around the world. I want to see the value of 3 or 4 currencies, dollar, euro, yen. I want to see the stock markets of major countries like US, some European countries, the Chinese stock market, the Japanese stock market. Then I want to see a few commodities like oil and gold. Okay, so this is a dashboard. It gives you a number of different charts or variables or numbers that are more important, that give you a major overview of what's going on. So here they say, hey, these are the monthly product sales. Well, that's the same picture over here. And then you see a total for all products. So you see January was good, and whatever this month, July, would be fairly good. Over here, you see the annual sales. Oh, product A is doing well, product E is doing well, okay? Then you take a look at the last 2 months and you see, oh, this product A dropped, product B is up, product E is down. So you try to make meaning. So if you're an executive, you're going to call, let's say, this guy to product E and say, hey, what's going on? Why sales are falling? And you're going to have other things. Okay, these are the percentage changes you see. Down, up, down, okay. These are relatively percentage changes. Somewhat stable, not too much, okay. These are, again, so you try to draw some meaning out of it. Now, you can do and create charts on Excel, and what we'll be trying to do in the course, especially in the lab, is we're trying to get the data and then try to make a chart in Excel and then try to make a chart in SPSS. And of course, the two charts should be identical. They should look very similar. That's how you will double check that you're doing correct. You just use the one, you use the other, get different skills. And then over time you'll figure out, oh, this is a lot easier, and oh, this is a lot harder, okay? Maybe one's going to be, well, one will be a lot easier. You'll figure out which one is easier for what purposes. That's also important. In other words, you can't, if you have a lot of heavy load you want to carry from one side of town to another side of town, you're not going to use a little motorcycle. You need a truck or a big car, okay? So you need to find out what is the purpose and for which purpose, which software gives you better, quicker, easier tools. Okay, so they give you here, well, these are some of the charts that you can use, and I got the recommended charts and some standard charts and whatnot, okay. And they give you some of the chart styles. You can choose over here different styles. You'll have to learn the basic styles. You have to learn which are the basic styles. Well, one example of a basic style will be a column chart and a bar chart, okay? Sometimes the column can be clustered, but might not be clustered. So you may have a column and the column will be arranged to each other. You can also have a bar, okay? They're useful for comparing categorical or maybe ordinal data. For example, in the sales transactions, which is coming in the lab this week, we're going to try to see how many of the sales are coming by email and how many of the sales are coming by the website or through the website. And you see, oh, the website is selling a lot more, meaning people come through and put their order through the website. Again, you can do the same thing for the time. How many people did the shopping between 12 and 1 o'clock after midnight? Between 1 and 2? Or between 7 and 8 o'clock in the morning? Okay. So, sometimes it's a little trickier. If the hour is 7:15 and 7:17 and 7:21, 7 o'clock and 21 minutes, you need to lump all of these in the bar between 7 and 8 o'clock, okay? So you have to begin to think about those things. And you can also illustrate differences between different sets of values. So you want to illustrate between shopping people at 7 o'clock and at 11 o'clock, or maybe 5 in the afternoon. All right, let's see what we got over here. You got ranges. Ranges will be a number of different bars. Here the range is C3. So this is C3 coming over here, okay, to K6. K6. So you got this little range over here, okay. And let's see what happens. It includes the heading for data, okay. So you create a column chart by first selecting the headings. You got officials, you got professionals, you got technicians, you got sales, you got office, you got craft, you got operatives, laborers, servers, and you got a breakdown. Breakdown can be by men and women, Asians versus European. Could be young versus old. It could be any type of breakdown. Having high school, having university degree. Okay, so this is what's called a breakdown. Here, the breakdown is by men and women. Now, you can read the data and say, oh, 18 to 41, or 40 to 39. So, a lot more men here. Well, men and women are about equal. Men and women are about equal. Oh, here, a lot more women. Here, we got a lot more women. Here, we got a lot more men. Okay. Here, we got a lot more men. Again, laborers, a lot more men. And for service, a lot more women. So you can basically see in this particular selection, you can see that certain types of jobs provide strong preference for men or for women. Now, in Europe, we have very strong preference for women to become nurses. We don't even have male nurses. In America, they do, but not very many. A nurse is typically a female job. Okay? When it comes to restaurant cooking, a chef, the chief of all the cooks, will be mostly men. Okay? Let's see if we got a chart and what the chart looks like. Again, this is all common sense. It's all fairly easy. Oh, officials and managers. Let's see what is it? All employees, men and women. So, men is red and women is small. Now, you can try and zoom in a little bit one by one so we can see a little bit what's going on. Professionals, just about equal. Technicians, just about equal. Sales, a lot more women. Office workers, a lot more women. Craft workers, a lot more men. Okay, the red over the green. Operatives, a lot more men. Laborers, a lot more men. And service workers, a lot more women. Okay, so it just shows you a picture, and then you gotta have somewhere overall for the totals. And here they tell you, well, you can choose for which to draw the plot. Well, you draw them for men, you draw them for women, okay, and you draw for all of these categories: officials and professionals and technicians and sales workers. If you want to show it, you check it over here. Okay, fairly straightforward. You can also use a line chart. Line chart is one of the major types of charts. So you got line charts, you got bar charts, you got more than 10 different types of charts. Well, here's a line chart of US exports to China. Okay, well, in 1990, US was barely exporting to China, and then the picture shows that the real big growth took off in 2002 and 2003. This is where growth suddenly became fast. So this is slow, steady growth, and this is accelerating growth. Again, only from the picture you can see and make some sense. So we can say, based on this picture, the meaning is that trade or exports, US exports to China, accelerated during the period of 2002 to 2008. And in 2008, there was a problem. The problem is the global financial crisis, of which me will study with most of you in the financial markets and institution class in about a few weeks, maybe in a month, month and a half. We'll study in detail the crisis and what happened. And then you can see where the crisis appears to be resolved. Where 2009 growth of exports continues again, trying to provide, again, meaning. You could possibly use a pie chart, okay? And here's a simple pie chart. Well, what is the marital status? Not in a high school. So, pie chart displays by partitioning into a pie-shaped area. It gives you percentages. It gives you a share. It's answering the question, what percent of the whatever. For example, what percent of the students here are male and what are female? Or what percentage of the students are native Cambodians and what percentage are foreigners? Well, you can answer the same question for the teachers. What percentage of teachers are foreigners and what percentage of teachers are natives, okay? So you answer all of these questions and you get a picture, or you can get to see what the picture looks like, okay? For example, the university may be proud in advertising that 60% of our teachers are foreigners with doctoral degrees from a well-recognized Western university. Okay, that's how the university may advertise. So let's see what do we have here. Okay, well, census data is basically you trying to ask all people, what is your status? Okay, and you can see, oh, married are just about 50%. Next, never married, about 30%. Divorced, about 10%. Widowed means the husband died, maybe sick, maybe accident. Or the wife died, again, maybe sick, maybe accident. Separated means, well, they're still married, but they don't live together anymore, okay? And then married, but the spouse is absent. That's common in countries like the Philippines. Husband and wife, they're married, and the Filipino husband goes to work in Germany to make a bigger salary and sends money home. He would like to be with his wife, and his wife would like to be with him together, but they don't because they have a money problem, or because they prefer more money than living together. In other words, they want to be, like to be, and if they had the opportunity, they would be together, but they're not for some, usually economic reasons. Okay. Well, a different example of kind of like married spouse absent will be, they both live here in the capital, okay, and let's say the one big husband's got a job. He's making good money, he's doing well. Well, the wife's mother or father is very sick, and the wife has to go and live in the province. Maybe 1 month, maybe 3 months, okay? So they would live together, but they don't. Again, it provides meaning. So here, not very many people are separated. If you do the same chart for the Philippines, huge percentage of people will be separated, okay? Huge percentage of people will be, let's see, I meant married with spouse absent. And huge will be separated. The husband just disappears. You know, these things do happen. Pie chart. Let's see what we got here. All right. This pie chart is exactly the same. It's just a copy of the previous. The same percentages and everything else. And now you can also present a bar chart. Okay. And in this bar chart, you can identify additionally, not having a high school, okay? So, those without high school, Now you can begin to break down and see, do people with high school get more married, or more divorced, or more separated, okay? You need to now see, well, where are the divorces coming? Are they coming in the low-educated people, or are they coming in the high-educated people? So where are the divorces? Well, here it just tells you, not a high school, let's just read in our chart, if you do use pie chart, okay? Restrict them to small numbers, okay? So, an important tip. When you use pie chart, you use only a small number of categories so that you can actually see. You cannot use 20, 30, or 50 categories. Because if you have 50 categories, these slices will be so small, you can't really see the picture. You want to have between 3 and maybe 8, at most 10 slices. A different way to do it, and we'll have to see over here. See, here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 seems good. Up to 8 seems good. In some cases, maybe 10 will be okay. More than 10 is usually not. If you have 15 or 20, what you do is you take the 3, 4, 5, or 6 most important, and all the others, you lump them together and say all the others are other. Okay? That's one technique. So here you got the same 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay? Let's see what's coming next. You're going to have an area chart. Well, this thing here represents one area. And this thing here represents a separate area. And you overlay one area on top of another. And this represents the total for both of them. Okay? Let's see what we got. We got energy consumption. And energy consumption here is separated into fossil and non-fossil. Fossil means oil, natural gas, okay, and coal. Non-fossil may be wind, sun, nuclear, okay? So, what's going on? Well, we see the fossil is rising steadily from, oh, that's from 49, okay? And then you see from about 2000, the fossil is more or less steady. In other words, consumption of fossil fuels does not increase much, or actually feels like it's dropping on the picture. And you can see very clearly how the non-fossil is increasing and rising and rising. And again, overall, you can see it's not growing too much in the last 5, 6, or 8 years. Well, maybe it's not growing because of the global financial crisis in 2008. Maybe if you look in deeper, you'll see that the peak would be 2008. And the peak over here is just about 2007, 2008, hard to tell, okay? You got to look into the data, okay, more specifically. So, important in charting is not just to draw the chart, but to try to connect the meaning of this with other events in the real world. Like, the world has been in an economic and financial crisis over the last 8 years. Okay, something's going wrong with the global economy. You need to add extra information. Now, what we can also say is something else. It's a guess. I don't know. We can find data. Is if we pull the data for the last, let's say, 25 years of divorces where people separate, you will see in the last 8 years a lot more divorces than before. And we would expect the reason to be the global economic crisis usually has financial problems between husband and wife, and the result is usually a divorce or, more commonly, separation. Now, it may be true, it may be false. What we want to do is we want to find data and to show if it's actually true or false. In other words, we call this hypothesis. Do divorces and separations increase during hard times or not? And then you get the data and you either accept the hypothesis or reject the hypothesis. That's coming down the road. You can use what we call hard statistical analysis and statistical testing. But a lot of times, a picture will tell you 80% of the story without any statistical analysis. Most of the times, a picture with common sense is more than enough for most business purposes. Today, there is a very, very bad trend going on over the last 20 or 30 years where they say, oh, you need science, you need real statistical testing. Well, the answer is, for most things in the real world, you don't need solid statistical testing. You just see the picture and then try to use common sense explanation. Another type, completely different type of a chart will be a scatter chart. And scatter chart just tells you, well, this is what, let's say, the market value of a house is. And this is what the square feet of a house is. In other words, you can see that bigger houses, this square feet means bigger house, more square feet. And this means more expensive house. So here, it's a simple question. Again, we know from common sense. We don't need science. And we don't need hard statistics to know common sense things like bigger houses are more expensive. Of course they are, right? That's very common sense, okay? But the question is, does the data look like it's supporting the hypothesis? Does it look like it? Does it look true that bigger is more expensive for houses? Yes, it obviously looks like. Now, you can run a real statistical test and you can find out. That will be called a regression in this particular case. You will run a regression and find out, okay? That's coming maybe 2 months down the road. You could possibly use a bubble chart. And a bubble chart is like that. There's a bubble over here. There's a bubble over here. Bubble, bubble, bubble. Okay? And in this bubble, somehow the bubble is going to show you the size. Here, the bubble is for GE, for Abercrombie, Amazon, and Apple. Well, what is the bubble about? Well, let's try and read, okay? It's a type of a scatter chart in which the size of the data marker corresponds to the value of a third variable. So, in a bubble chart, you have 3 variables. Variable number 1 here, that will be, in this particular case, the price. Second one is price earnings ratio. Well, you should have studied, hopefully, a little bit of basic financial management. Price earnings ratio, it tells you the price of the stock. It tells you the profit of the stock. So it basically tells you how expensive the stock is. So this stock is relatively cheap, and this stock is relatively expensive, okay? And then we need to see what else we got. Value of a third. Consequently, it is a way to plot 3 variables in 2 dimensions. We still got to figure out what's the third dimension. See? We got price, we got this, stock comparison. Bubble chart for stock comparisons. Well, how much what? The market value. Yes, it's possible that the bubble will represent the market value, the market size. We would know, well, I would know that Apple is by far a huge, one of the biggest companies in the world. We also know one of the oldest, most reputable, and big company will be GE. And then you can see Abercrombie is a tiny relative to Apple and G. We see that Amazon is large. And then you can see Netflix is still small. So this visualizes the size of the company relative to, again, its price and its price earnings. Let's see. All right, well, you also have other types of charts. One is a stock chart. It shows you how the price moves. You know, I like to do this all the time. I mean, that's what I do. I usually have a stock chart. Now, stock chart is not a chart about stocks. Okay? Stock chart is about a chart of prices. You can use a stock chart to see the price of oil, to see the price of gold, to see the price of a euro, okay? To see any kind of a price, maybe on a daily basis, maybe on a weekly basis, maybe on a monthly basis. You got a surface chart, and you got a donut and a radar. Well, we can take a look. They should be giving you some examples of these. Now, the most important are, remember, the line one, the bar one, the pie one, okay? So you'll get to see. Now, the important part to understand is that for different purposes, you will have one type of chart is more important, meaning better to show the data that you want. So you'll need to select the more appropriate chart. You cannot say, oh, this chart is better than that chart. What you can say is, this chart shows the information better. Sometimes you may have two completely different charts, and they will show the data in a similar way. You can get the same understanding and meaning from two very different types of charts. But sometimes they have to be only one particular chart will be more appropriate. Well, you may have geographic data. I wish I had, but maybe we can do, and they would. For example, for each state, you provide, let's say in the United States, that's a big problem, is obesity, how fat people are. And some states are very, very fat. I worked and lived for 10 years in the state of Ohio. Ohio is the Midwest. People are extremely careless about themselves, and more than 50% of the people are overweight or fat or obese, okay? So Ohio was one of the fattest states. Well, one of the fittest states where people are fit and like to exercise would be California, okay? And one of the people very conscious about being slim are in Florida, because in Florida you always have shorts and shirt, you know, you can't just be fat, you don't look good. So again, you have the same picture, and for each state you got a little different color. And for example, blue color will mean that the state is relatively normal, and bright red means that the state is very fat. And then you have the colors between blue and red, they shade, so it shows you a graphical picture seen by the color. Well, let's see what they have over here. Okay, many visualizations about geographic data. Okay, you can use geographic data for business purposes. How much you got sales for different things. All right, so you also got data bars, color scales, icon set, spark lines, camera tools. We'll probably not use many or even any of these. All we need to learn is the main, maybe 10 times, maybe 5, maybe 10 types to show what you gotta show. Oh, okay. Well, here is an example of conditional formatting. Conditional formatting will basically tell you, well, show me or give me a color. Let's say small numbers are green, then medium-sized numbers will be, let's say, bluish, and very high numbers will be red. Okay, so this is a fairly one way to represent. You may use one product for one color, different product for different color. Okay? So the color will represent a particular range. For example, in blue, for example, the picture with the fat people will be between 0 and 5% of the people are fat. And red will be more than 40% of the people are fat. Okay? And orange may be 15 to 20% of the people being fat. And here, coming next, will be an example of, okay, well, these are relatively high, these are low. You'll see different colors mean different things. You want to use a common sense color scheme and maybe show it. The example which I gave you where some people are very fat and others are not so fat is called a heat map. Maybe I'll do a Google search. Maybe we don't need a Google search. You can use conditional formatting with errors. In other words, you could use colors. You could also use arrows. Is air conditioning on? There's still electricity, right? But because it's 11:50, they want to save on electricity, right? Means class is over, right? You want to go eat?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Class is over. Push and stop.